Hi, welcome to Get Personal with Finance. Today I have a question about what is good debt and what is bad debt. What's the difference between the two? And obviously, I guess what you want is good debt, right? So let's break down what makes debt good and what makes bad debt. So to be good with your finances, you want as much of good debt as possible and less of bad debt as possible. So debt is something that you owe generally, right, on something. And you want to make sure that something is an asset versus a liability. So an asset is something that grows in value over time. It appreciates, it generates income, it has value. Where a liability loses value, it causes you to have to maintain it, service it, and I guess you can say it can reduce your net worth. So for example, and we talked about this, assets minus liability equals your net worth. So if you were to reduce your liability, your net worth does what? It goes up. Similarly, if you keep your liability the same, your debt the same, generally speaking, but your asset value has gone up, then what happens to your net worth? It goes up, right? So pretty simple. So you want to build your net worth, and you can do it in those two ways. So, and another thing is, don't ever think debt is bad. It's just, how are you using debt? What is the debt position? Is the debt position, again, building your net worth, or is the debt position reducing your net worth, right? So pretty simple. So with that, we want to build and have debt on assets. So for example, the common question is, hey John, is my home an asset or a liability? And is that good debt or bad debt? Well, it's kind of a hard question, because your home, first and foremost, and let's add your car, right? Is that something that pays you every month? Like your home, it doesn't. Your car doesn't pay you every month unless you rent it out, and your home the same, unless you kind of not sublease, but you rent out some of the rooms in your home, right? And after paying mortgage and expenses, you're net positive. Then the house becomes, the home that you're living in becomes an asset. Similar to, for example, a great way to start investing in real estate is you buy a triplex, a duplex, where you live in one and then you rent out the other, and then the other rent pays for both of it combined. And then you just wait for it to appreciate, and then you sell it for a profit, and then you exchange it for a fourplex, and then so on and so forth. That's on an investment property, but generally speaking, your home is a liability, right? You have to pay taxes on it, there's maintenance, there's insurance costs, improvements, et cetera. So it's more so a liability than it is an asset. Your rental property, obviously, that's an asset, but it can turn into a liability if it's poorly managed, if it's not cash flow positive. You get the point. So, like your car, like we brought that up, our car, for example, like my car, that's a liability, right? I have to pay for servicing it. I have to put gas into it. Yes, it gets me from point A to point B, but it's not, people don't get rich owning a lot of or driving different cars, right? Unless you're a collector, we don't want to go there, but you get my point. So a common one is, well, what about student debt? Well, student debt is debt that you have to service, but what did you get from that debt? Did you get a world-class education, experience? You got the best network, right? You have the best alma mater, alumni network, resources that the university connect you with. It gave you the best career, a high-paying job, then heck yeah, right? Think of it this way, just like a business. If you and I were to go in business together, and let's say it's a restaurant, right, to keep it simple, well, we gotta take on debt to buy the inventory, hire the staff, invest in the marketing, etc. So that's debt. And then hopefully it's a great restaurant where we're able to make a lot of money from that, right, from the income. And then, after paying that debt off, over 5 years, we've gotten all of our money back and then some, right? And the value, the brand has gone up, then it's a great thing. So that is a good example of debt. Debt is normal. Everything, like my Tesla, for example, instead of me giving Tesla the full amount for my car, I financed it, took the difference, and put that money to work instead to generate enough to pay for the debt service, the auto payment on the loan, the loan payment, and then my car, there's basically very minimal cost to it. So think of it in that way where, to take it a step further, what you want is you want to first get good debt, right, to buy an asset that generates enough income that pays for that service, the bad debt, and then take the difference, and then you can use it for, to pay off your car or some bad debt that you have to go on, right? Or liabilities that you have, for example, like fixed expenses, like paying for rent, paying for a car payment, paying for gas, paying for insurance. Now you have an asset that generates enough income. Well, that takes care of that for you. And just to kind of expand on this is that it comes down to, are you in control of your finances? Are you in control of your debt, right? So again, debt is if you can service it, it's a non-issue. But if you can't, and you're not consciously thinking about it, then that's a problem. For example, like credit card, right? So that's really bad. That's bad debt because like even the interest on your credit card, your personal credit, unless you own a business or something, then you can write off the interest, but you cannot write off the interest on your personal credit card, right? And hopefully if you're spending on things you don't really need or want, or I don't know, and just things that are not building your wealth, then that's like double bad. One, it's not growing your net worth, and two, you're making payments on it and then that's costing you because of the interest. So that's a good example of really bad debt, and a good example of the fact that you're not in control of your finances. Now you're just bleeding money away, just paying, servicing that debt, paying interest rates. So you don't want to be in that position. And again, it's being in control of your finances, knowing your numbers, and one thing also that I want to add to this is that your definition of debt. Change it to, if I ask you, what do you define debt as? You probably think, the common response I get is, it's something I owe, it's something that costs me, which is all correct. But to really elevate your thinking to be a little bit more critical, it's what we talked about, is think of redefine debt as something that is, debt is your inability to pay what you owe, right? So for example, let's go back to a person's net worth. Assets minus liabilities equal their net worth. So let's say they have $1 million of liquid investments or money in the bank, and they have $500,000 in debt. That can be a mortgage, student loans, etc. Now, do they have a debt problem, or do they have debt? Or should they be concerned about debt? That's a better question. The answer is no. They don't have a debt problem because debt is your inability to pay what you owe, right? Because they can easily take their $1 million and wipe their $500,000 debt and be done with it. But they're taking that $5 million. They're taking that $1 million and they're growing that continuously. So therefore, the debt will probably continue to decrease, and it's being serviced. It's being paid off slowly, and then their assets continues to grow, right? So again, debt is your inability to pay what you owe. So I want to add that additional definition to your I don't know, your already list of definition. But that's one that really helps me, my client, make good financial decisions when we're looking at expanding their business or repositioning certain funds for them to optimize their retirement savings, or to be able to invest more in investments that are doing well. That's what we do. So yeah, so again, to summarize, you want good debt and you don't want bad debt. But now you know consciously what constitutes a bad debt and what constitutes a good debt, and do not be afraid or concerned about debt. Just understand debt at a more specific level, and that should make it more digestible, and it empowers you more. So when you make decisions like invest in something and you know that requires some level of debt, that you're okay with it, because now you're smart enough to realize, oh no, it's a net positive actually versus a net negative, right? So with that, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.